Why do human beings die so miserably, so unhappily, with a disease, old age, senility, the body shrunk, ugly? Why can't they die naturally and as beautifully as a leaf? What is wrong with us? In spite of all the doctors, medicines and hospitals, operations and all the agony of life, and the pleasures too, we don't seem able to die with simplicity, dignity, and with a smile. The winter brought a leaf from its mother onto the path, and it would presently dry out completely and wither, be gone, carried away by the winds and lost. As you teach children mathematics, writing, reading, and all the business of acquiring knowledge, they should also be taught the great dignity of death, not as a morbid, unhappy thing that one has to face eventually, but as something of daily life. The daily life of looking at the blue sky and the grasshopper on a leaf. It is part of learning as you grow teeth and have all the discomfort of childish illnesses. Children have extraordinary curiosity. If you see the nature of death, you don't explain that everything dies, dust to dust and so on. But without any fear, you explain it to them gently and make them feel that the living and the dying are one. Not at the end of one's life after 50, 60 or 90 years. Death is like the leaf. Look at the old men and women. How decrepit, lost, unhappy, and how ugly they look. Is it because they have not really understood either the living or the dying? They have used life. They waste away their life with incessant conflict which only exercises and gives strength to the self, the me, the ego. We spend our days in such varieties of conflict and unhappiness, with some joy and pleasure, drinking, smoking, late nights, and work, work and work. And at the end of one's life, one faces that thing called death, and is frightened of it. One thinks it can always be understood, felt deeply. One is very certain that if the educator understands the significance of death and the dignity of it, the extraordinary simplicity of dying, understand it not intellectually but deeply, then he may be able to convey to the student, to the child, that dying, the ending, is not to be avoided, is not something to be frightened of, for it is part of one's whole life. So that as the student, the child, grows up, he will never be frightened of the ending. If all the human beings who have lived before us, past generations upon generations, still lived on this earth, how terrible it would be. The beginning is not the ending. One would like in education to bring death into some kind of reality, actuality, not of someone else dying, but of each one of us, however old or young, having inevitably to face that thing. It is not a sad affair of tears, of loneliness, of separation. We kill so easily not only the animals for one's food, but the vast unnecessary killing for amusement called sport. Killing the deer because that is the season. Killing a deer is like killing your neighbor. You kill animals because you have lost touch with nature, with all the living things on this earth. You kill in wars for so many romantic, nationalistic, political ideologies. In the name of God, you have killed people. Violence and killing go together. As one looked at that dead leaf, with all its beauty and color, maybe one would very deeply comprehend, be aware of, what one's own death must be, not at the end, but at the very beginning. Death isn't some horrific thing, something to be avoided, something to be postponed, but rather something to be with day in and day out. And out of that comes an extraordinary sense of immensity.